Hey, Deep Divers, welcome back to another episode. Before we get started, if you're enjoying these dives into complex topics, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and tap that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Today, we're going to be wading into the world of India's security forces,
Ah,
a
yes.
topic that's not just crucial for UPSC aspirants,
Right.
but for
Yeah,
any informed citizen, really.
absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. Understanding how India safeguards itself, both internally and externally, is fundamental to grasping, its political landscape and current affairs.
Initially, I'll admit I felt a bit like I was staring at a tangled web, acronyms, battalions,
It's a
jurisdictions.
lot.
Oh my, it's a lot to unravel.
Yeah.
But that's why we have you here,
Of
to
course.
guide us through this labyrinth of national security.
Well, think of it this way. If you're aiming to ace the UPSC exams, especially the internal security portion of GS3, or if you're just someone who wants to understand the news better, getting a grip on India's security apparatus is key. And believe it or not, it's more fascinating than you might think. Did you know that the Assam Rifles, one of our oldest security forces, started off protecting tea estates back in the 1800s?
Okay, that definitely piqued my interest. From tea leaves to national security, that's quite a journey.
Exactly. And that's just one of the many captivating threads we'll be pulling at today.
So let's start by getting the lay of the land.
Yeah.
What's the basic structure of India's security forces?
Essentially, there are two main branches. First, we have the Indian Armed Forces, comprising the Army, Navy, and Air Force, which are primarily responsible for protecting India from external threats. They fall under the Ministry of Defense.
Makes sense. So who handles threats within the country?
That's where the second branch comes in. The Central Armed Police Forces, or CAPFs. These forces are the primary players when it comes to internal security, though they can also support the armed forces in external conflicts if needed. They report to the Ministry of Home Affairs.
So we have the military for external defense and the CAPFs for internal security. Simple enough, right?
Well, not quite. It's essential to remember that in India, law and order is primarily a state subject. This means each state has its own police force, adding another layer to the mix.
Oh, right. I remember learning about that in school, but it's easy to forget how this impacts security on a national level.
Exactly. And on top of that, we also have metropolitan police forces for larger cities and federal agencies like the CBI, which handle specialized investigations.
Wow, so it's actually a pretty intricate web of forces and jurisdictions, I guess, that reflects the sheer diversity and scale of India's security challenges, both inside the country and at its borders.
You've got it. And within this complex setup, the CAPFs play a particularly vital role. There are 7 key forces we'll be focusing on today, each with a distinct mandate and a fascinating history.
Okay, let's delve into those 7. You already mentioned the Assam Rifles and their unique origin story, so let's start there. What exactly were they protecting those tea estates from?
Well, back in the 19th century, when the British East India Company was establishing its tea plantations in the Northeast, they faced resistance from local tribal groups who saw this as an encroachment on their land. To safeguard their economic interests, the British formed the Kashar Levy in 1835, which would later become the Assam Rifles.
So it was all about protecting those precious tea leaves that fueled the British Empire, and in a way shaping the history of this particular force.
Precisely, and it's fascinating to trace how their role evolved alongside British colonial interests. As the British expanded their control over the region, the Assam Rifles were increasingly deployed to quell tribal uprisings and secure the frontier.
It sounds like they were the British Empire's go-to force for maintaining order in a strategically important region.
They were, and that legacy continues even today. After India's independence, the Assam Rifles became part of the Indian Army, but they were later transferred to the Ministry of Home Affairs, reflecting their shift in focus to internal security.
So what are some of their key responsibilities today?
They have a multifaceted role. They're responsible for guarding the Indo-Myanmar border, combating insurgency in the northeast, and conducting counterinsurgency operations. They also played a crucial role in the 1962 Sino-Indian War and have been involved in peacekeeping missions in Sri Lanka.
Wow, talk about a diverse portfolio. They really have been at the forefront of some of India's most significant security challenges, haven't they?
Indeed, they're often called the Sentinels of the Northeast for their unwavering commitment to protecting that region.
Okay, so we've covered the Assam Rifles, a force deeply intertwined with India's colonial past and its ongoing internal security concerns. What's next on our list of CAPFs?
Let's move on to a force that's constantly in the news, especially when it comes to border tensions. The Border Security Force, or BSF.
Ah, yes, the BSF. It seems like every other day we hear about their encounters along India's borders. What exactly is their role?
The BSF is tasked with guarding India's vast and often porous borders with Pakistan and Bangladesh. Their role is crucial in both peacetime and wartime.
Okay, so they're essentially the first line of defense when it comes to protecting India from external threats along those borders.
Exactly. They're responsible for preventing infiltration, smuggling, and cross-border terrorism. It's a demanding and often dangerous job, especially considering the challenging terrain and the constant threat of hostile activity.
I imagine it requires a lot of vigilance and preparedness. What kind of training do BSF personnel undergo to prepare for these challenges?
Their training is rigorous and multifaceted. It includes physical fitness weapons, handling border management techniques, and intelligence gathering. They also receive specialized training in counterterrorism and disaster relief.
It sounds like they need to be incredibly adaptable, ready for anything that comes their way.
Absolutely. They're a vital component of India's security apparatus, and their role is only becoming more crucial in today's complex geopolitical landscape.
Okay, so we've covered two CIPFs so far. The Assam Rifles, deeply rooted in history and focused on internal security in the Northeast, and the BSF, guarding India's western and eastern borders. Let's move on to the next force. Who are we diving into now?
Next up is a force that you might not hear about as often as the Assam Rifles or the BSF, but their role is equally critical. They are the silent guardians of India's critical infrastructure. The Central Industrial Security Force, or CISF.
The ISF. Now, that one's a bit less familiar to me. What kind of critical infrastructure are we talking about?
Think about all the vital installations that keep India running. Airports, seaports, power plants, oil refineries, nuclear installations, even Delhi Metro. The CISF is responsible for protecting these assets from sabotage, terrorism, and other threats.
It's amazing to think about the sheer scale of their responsibility. These are the places that power our nation literally and figuratively. It makes sense that they need specialized protection.
And their expertise goes beyond just security. They also have a unique specialization in fire safety, which is critical in industrial settings. Think about it. A major fire at a power plant or oil refinery could cripple entire regions.
That's a sobering thought. It sounds like their work requires a deep understanding of not just security protocols, but also the technical aspects of these critical installations.
You're absolutely right. They need to be able to assess vulnerabilities, implement security measures, and coordinate with other agencies in case of an emergency.
I'm starting to see how each of these CAPFs has a distinct role to play, often working behind the scenes to ensure our safety and security.
Exactly. And we've only just scratched the surface. We still have 4 more fascinating forces to explore, each with its own set of challenges and contributions to India's security.
Okay, I'm ready for the next deep dive. Who's up next on our list?
Let's shift our focus to the icy heights of the Himalayas, where another remarkable force stands guard. The Indo-Tibetan Border Police, or ITBP.
The ITBP, I've heard about them, but mostly in the context of their deployments in extremely challenging terrain. What exactly are they responsible for?
As their name suggests, the ITBP is primarily tasked with guarding India's border with Tibet, which runs along some of the highest and most treacherous mountain ranges in the world.
That's a tough assignment. I can't even imagine what it must be like to patrol those high-altitude regions facing freezing temperatures, thin air, and rugged terrain.
It's definitely not for the faint of heart. They need to be physically and mentally tough, able to endure extreme conditions, and remain vigilant in the face of potential threats.
So their primary role is border security in the Himalayas. Do they have any other responsibilities?
Yes, their role has expanded over time. They're also involved in counterinsurgency operations in the Northeast, VIP security, and disaster management. In fact, they played a crucial role in the rescue and relief efforts during the 2013 Uttarakhand floods.
Wow, it sounds like they're truly multidimensional, able to adapt to a wide range of challenges.
Exactly, and their expertise in mountaineering and high-altitude warfare makes them a valuable asset to India's security forces.
Okay, so we've covered the Assam Rifles, the BSF, the CISF, and now the ITBP, each with its unique area of focus and expertise. This is really eye-opening. What other CAPFs should we know about?
Let's shift gears now and talk about a force that's often shrouded in secrecy but is renowned for its elite status and specialized skills. The National Security Guard, or NSG.
The NSG, I've always been fascinated by them. They're like India's version of the SAS or the Navy SEALs, right?
You could say that they are India's premier counterterrorism force trained for zero-error missions where precision and speed are paramount. They're deployed in high-stakes situations like hostage rescues, hijacking incidents, and neutralizing terrorist threats.
So they're the ones we call in when the situation is absolutely critical and there's no room for error?
Precisely. They undergo rigorous training, mastering a wide range of skills from close-quarters combat to bomb disposal. Their selection process is incredibly demanding, and only the best of the best make it through.
It sounds like they're the ultimate specialists trained to handle the most dangerous and complex security challenges.
Exactly. They are a strategic asset deployed selectively to neutralize high-value targets and protect critical installations. They also provide security to high-profile individuals and play a crucial role in counterterrorism operations across the country.
Their work is certainly high pressure and demanding. It's incredible to think about the level of dedication and expertise they bring to the table.
Absolutely. They are a testament to the professionalism and capability of India's security forces.
Okay, so we've learned about the Assam Rifles, the BSF, the CISF, the ITBP, and the NSG. That's 5 down, 2 to go. What other CAPF awaits our exploration?
Let's move on to a force that plays a unique role in securing India's borders with two of its closest neighbors, the Sashastra Seema Bal, or SSB.
The SSB, I'll admit I'm not as familiar with this one. What distinguishes them from the BSF, which also handles border security?
That's a great question. While the BSF guards the borders with Pakistan and Bangladesh, the SSB is responsible for securing the borders with Nepal and Bhutan.
Okay, so they have a specific geographical focus. What makes their role unique?
Well, unlike the borders with Pakistan and Bangladesh, which are more tightly controlled, the borders with Nepal and Bhutan are largely open. People can move freely across these borders for trade tourism and even family visits.
That makes sense considering the close historical and cultural ties between India and these countries. But how does that impact the SSB's role?
It means their approach to border security is very different. They can't simply focus on preventing infiltration. They need to be adept at community engagement, intelligence gathering, and fostering goodwill with the local populations on both sides of the border.
It sounds like their work is as much about diplomacy and building trust as it is about traditional border security.
You could say that they need to be able to distinguish between legitimate cross-border movement and potential security threats. It requires a nuanced understanding of the local dynamics and a strong emphasis on building relationships with border communities.
That's a fascinating perspective on border security. It's not just about walls and fences, but also about fostering cooperation and understanding.
Exactly. And the SSB plays a crucial role in maintaining peace and stability along these sensitive borders.
Okay, we're down to the last CAPF on our list. Who are we talking about now?
Finally, we have the force responsible for protecting some of India's most important individuals, the Central Reserve Police Force, or CRPF.
The CRPF, I've definitely heard of them before, but I'm not entirely sure what their specific role is.
They are India's largest paramilitary force and have a wide range of responsibilities, including counterinsurgency operations, crowd control, VIP security, and election duties.
It sounds like they're the real workhorses of India's internal security apparatus, handling a bit of everything.
You could say that they're often deployed in high-risk areas facing challenges like insurgency militancy and communal violence.
Sure.
They also play a vital role in maintaining law and order during large gatherings and elections.
Wow, that's a lot of responsibility. They must be incredibly versatile and well-trained to handle such a diverse set of tasks.
Absolutely. They undergo extensive training in a wide range of skills, from riot control to counterterrorism tactics. They are a crucial component of India's internal security framework, ensuring the safety and security of citizens across the country.
Okay, so we've covered all 7 key CAPFs, each with its own unique mandate, challenges, and contributions to India's security. It's been quite a journey so far, learning about the forces that protect our country from both internal and external threats.
It's important to understand that despite their crucial role, these forces often face significant challenges and hardships in carrying out their duties.
You're right. We often hear about their bravery and sacrifices, but we rarely get a glimpse into the difficulties they encounter on a daily basis.
Exactly. And that's what we'll be exploring in the next part of our deep dive. We'll delve into the challenges faced by India's paramilitary forces, the issues that impact their morale and effectiveness, and what needs to be done to address these concerns.
Sounds like a crucial conversation. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back, Deep Divers. Before we jump back into India's CAPFs, let me just reiterate how essential this understanding is, especially if you're a student prepping for those UPSC exams. This isn't just about memorizing acronyms. It's about grasping the real-world challenges these forces grapple with daily.
That's a crucial point. While we often celebrate the heroism of our security personnel, it's equally important to acknowledge the systemic issues that impact their lives and effectiveness.
So let's shed some light on those issues. What are some of the key challenges faced by India's paramilitary forces?
One of the most pressing concerns is the persistent shortage of manpower. Many of these forces are operating well below their sanctioned strength, putting immense strain on the existing personnel.
That makes sense. We've talked about the vast geographical areas they cover and the diverse range of responsibilities they handle. It's hard to imagine doing all that effectively with limited manpower. What are the implications of this shortage?
Well, it leads to longer duty hours, increased stress levels, and inadequate rest and recuperation for the personnel. This not only affects their physical and mental well-being, but also hampers their operational efficiency.
So it's a vicious cycle. The shortage leads to overwork and burnout, which further impacts their ability to perform their duties effectively.
Precisely. And this has a ripple effect on morale and motivation within the forces.
Beyond manpower shortages, what other challenges impact the morale of these forces?
Another significant issue is the lack of adequate grievance redressal mechanisms. When personnel have complaints or concerns, there isn't always a clear and accessible channel for them to voice those grievances and seek resolution.
So they might feel like their concerns are not being heard or addressed, leading to a sense of frustration and disillusionment.
Exactly. This can erode trust in the system and impact their overall morale and commitment.
This brings to mind the lack of martyr status for those who make the ultimate sacrifice while serving in the CAPFs. We touched upon this earlier. Why is this such a contentious issue?
It's a matter of recognition and respect. Granting martyr status not only honors the sacrifice of the individual, but also provides crucial support and benefits to their families. The absence of this status for CAPF personnel creates a sense of disparity and inequality, especially when compared to their counterparts in the armed forces.
It sends a message that their sacrifices are somehow less significant, which is deeply demoralizing, not just for the personnel, but also for their families.
Exactly, and this can have a ripple effect on recruitment and retention within these forces. If people feel like their service and sacrifice will not be adequately acknowledged, it can discourage talented individuals from joining or staying in these crucial roles.
It sounds like these issues, manpower shortages, lack of grievance redressal, and the debate over martyr status, are all interconnected, contributing to a sense of neglect and undermining the overall effectiveness of these vital forces.
You've hit the nail on the head. These challenges need to be addressed holistically if we want to ensure that our paramilitary forces are well equipped and motivated to protect our nation.
It's clear that these are not just abstract policy issues. They have real-world consequences for the brave men and women who risk their lives every day to keep us safe.
Absolutely. And addressing these challenges requires a multi-pronged approach involving policy changes, increased investment, and a greater focus on the well-being of our security personnel.
So what are some steps that can be taken to improve the situation?
Yeah.
Are there any positive initiatives already in place?
Fortunately, the government has recognized the need for reforms and has implemented several initiatives aimed at addressing these concerns.
That's good to hear. Tell us more about these initiatives. What specific steps are being taken?
One area of focus has been improving communication and interaction between Jawans and officers. This includes promoting more open dialogue, creating platforms for voicing grievances, and fostering a more inclusive and respectful work environment.
That makes sense. Breaking down hierarchies and promoting open communication can go a long way in building trust and addressing concerns effectively.
Exactly. Another positive step has been the effort to promote gender equality within the paramilitary forces. The government has approved quotas for women in various ranks, aiming to increase their representation and create a more diverse and inclusive force.
That's a significant step forward.
Yeah.
It not only promotes equality, but also expands the talent pool and brings fresh perspectives to these critical roles.
Absolutely. There have also been initiatives to improve living conditions, provide better healthcare facilities, and enhance training programs for paramilitary personnel.
These are all positive steps, but it sounds like there's still a long way to go. What more needs to be done to truly address the challenges faced by these forces?
You're right. While these initiatives are commendable, more needs to be done to address some of the systemic issues. For instance, we need a dedicated tribunal for paramilitary forces, similar to the Armed Forces Tribunal, to provide a specialized judicial forum for addressing their specific concerns and grievances.
That seems like a no-brainer. It would ensure that their cases are heard and adjudicated by those who understand the unique challenges they face.
Exactly. We also need to address the disparity in hardship allowances. Paramilitary personnel deployed in the same areas as the armed forces often receive lower allowances despite facing similar risks and challenges.
That's a clear injustice that needs to be rectified. Equal pay for equal risk should be a fundamental principle.
Absolutely. And finally, we need greater investment in modernization and infrastructure for the paramilitary forces. This includes providing them with better equipment, training facilities, and living conditions.
All of these recommendations seem essential if we want to ensure that our paramilitary forces are equipped and motivated to protect our nation effectively.
Precisely. Investing in their well-being is not just a matter of fairness, it's a matter of national security. A strong and motivated paramilitary force is crucial for maintaining internal stability, guarding our borders, and responding effectively to a wide range of security challenges.
I couldn't agree more. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the historical origins and diverse roles of India's CAPFs to the challenges they face and the initiatives being taken to address them. I have to say I've gained a newfound appreciation for the complexity and importance of their work.
It's been fascinating discussion, and I hope our listeners have also gained a deeper understanding of these often overlooked but essential forces that safeguard our nation.
I'm sure they have. And as we wrap up this segment, I think it's important to emphasize that understanding India's security apparatus is not just for aspiring bureaucrats or security experts. It's essential for all of us as informed citizens to engage with these issues, advocate for the well-being of our security personnel, and appreciate the sacrifices they make to keep us safe.
Well said. We owe them a debt of gratitude for their unwavering commitment to our nation's security.
Absolutely. And on that note, let's move on to our final segment, where we'll wrap up our deep dive with some key takeaways and some final thoughts on what we can do as citizens to support these vital forces. All right, deep divers, we're back for the final stretch of our exploration into India's security forces. It's been quite a journey, hasn't it?
It has. We've delved into the history, the roles and challenges of 7 key central armed police forces, from the Assam Rifles guarding the Northeast to the SSB fostering goodwill along our open borders.
And we can't forget the CISF safeguarding our critical infrastructure.
Right.
The ITBP braving the Himalayas, the NSG ready for high-stakes missions, and the CRPF, the real multitaskers of internal security.
Each force, with its own unique expertise and operational landscape, contributes to a complex web of security that protects India both domestically and along its borders.
You know, thinking back to when I first started researching for this episode, I was honestly overwhelmed. But now I'm struck by how interconnected these forces are, and how their challenges often mirror the broader complexities of India itself.
That's a keen observation.
Yeah.
For instance, the manpower shortages we discussed aren't just an internal problem for the CAPFs. They reflect larger demographic trends and the challenges of attracting talent to demanding, often hazardous careers.
And the issue of martyr status highlights deeper questions about how we value and recognize sacrifice, not just within the security forces, but as a society.
Precisely. These issues resonate far beyond the barracks and training grounds. They invite us to consider the human cost of security and how we as a nation support those who protect us.
It's also been eye-opening to see how the roles of these forces have evolved over time.
Right.
The Assam Rifles, starting as protectors of ET states, now combat insurgency and manage complex border dynamics. The CISF, once focused on industrial security, now safeguards our airports and metro systems.
This adaptability speaks volumes about the professionalism and commitment of these forces. They had to constantly adjust to new threats, changing geopolitical landscapes, and the evolving needs of a rapidly developing nation.
So where do we go from here? We've talked about government initiatives and recommendations for improvement, but what role can we as everyday citizens play in supporting these forces?
That's a crucial question. Awareness is the first step. Understanding the complexities of their work, the challenges they face, and the sacrifices they make is crucial. We can't simply take their service for granted.
It's about going beyond the headlines and sound bites.
Yeah.
Really engaging with the issues, learning about their history, and recognizing the human faces behind the uniforms.
Exactly. Support can also manifest in simple ways. Showing respect for personnel you encounter, advocating for policies that improve their well-being, or even just staying informed about the issues that impact their lives.
And for those of you listening who are preparing for the UPSC exams, this deep dive has hopefully given you a solid foundation for further exploration. Remember, the internal security paper isn't just about memorizing facts and figures. It's about understanding the intricate workings of India's security apparatus, the challenges it faces, and the potential solutions for a safer and more secure future.
And for everyone listening, whether you're a student, a professional, or just a curious citizen, I hope this deep dive has ignited a spark of curiosity and a sense of appreciation for the dedicated individuals who protect our nation day in and day out.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
So, deep divers, that's a wrap on our exploration of India's security forces. As always, we encourage you to delve deeper into the resources provided in the show notes. And if you found this deep dive insightful, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an episode.
Thanks for joining us on this fascinating journey, and until next time, stay curious.
See you in our next deep dive.